It was the kind of late afternoon when the air seemed heavy with both fatigue and possibility. The Walmart parking lot buzzed with everyday life, shopping carts rattling, car engines humming, a few children running ahead of their mothers. I wasn't looking for anything except a quiet corner to catch my breath, and then I saw him, David. He wasn't doing anything spectacular, just walking toward his car, the low sun casting sharp shadows across his face. But there was something in the way his eyes lingered on mine, curious and direct, as though we had been circling each other in some unseen orbit and finally collided. For a split second, the world slowed, the noise dimmed, and it was just two strangers staring, something unspoken passing between us. I smiled reflexively, shyly, and walked away. My cornrows brushed against my cheek with every step, a silent metronome to the flutter in my chest. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about him. Not in the desperate, restless way I used to obsess over men, but in a softer, steadier way. A memory replayed of his gaze, calm yet charged. For once, I didn't spiral into stories about whether I was enough or whether he noticed me. Instead, I whispered to myself, if it's meant, it will flow to me. I don't need to chase love, it knows where I live. It was a mantra I had begun to practice, a discipline I had carved out through countless hours of meditation, over 500 sessions, 4,500 minutes of sitting still with my thoughts, learning not to grip but to release. And then 2 days later, the universe blinked. Release. And then 2 days later, the universe blinked. I was at the gym locker room when my phone vibrated. A text from a number I didn't know. Hey, this is David. From Walmart. I froze, my heart slammed against my ribs like a drumline. My first instinct was disbelief. How had he even found me? Later, I'd learned he'd asked a mutual acquaintance who recognized me. At that moment, none of that mattered. What mattered was the universe had delivered. We texted lightly at first, the awkward dance of newness, jokes, little stories, scattered emojis. But beneath it was a hum, a current pulling us closer. He asked for a call. That evening, as his voice poured through my phone, I leaned back against my pillow, closed my eyes, and listened. It was deep, warm, and threaded with laughter. I felt seen in a way I hadn't in years. It was as though I wasn't auditioning for affection anymore. I was simply being. Still, when he didn't call back the next night, the old ache tried to creep in, that familiar story. See? Men lose interest. You're always too much or not enough. But meditation had trained me well. I caught the thought, held it gently, and let it dissolve. No chasing, no begging, no unraveling. Instead, I whispered an affirmation into the quiet. Love that is mine cannot pass me by. And then I went to sleep. 2 days later, his name lit up my phone again. I smiled knowingly, as though the cosmos had just winked at me. Our first video call lasted 3 hours. I hadn't laughed that hard in months. David had an easy humor, the kind that didn't need to try, the kind that made me lower my guard without realizing it. When he leaned in close to the camera and said, "You know, you're even more beautiful like this, without filters or pretense," I felt heat bloom across my skin. A week later, he asked me out. The night of our first date, I stood in front of my mirror for too long, smoothing my dress, adjusting my hair, fighting the nerves clawing at my stomach. This is just dinner, I told myself, but my body knew better. Something bigger was unfolding.